Spilled Water came about because I read a newspaper article about girls being sold into slavery in China, taken to market and sold. So I started to research China because it wasn't a place I'd ever been to, didn't know very much about it. I read lots of fiction about China, I read lots of non-fiction, but I couldn't actually get started with writing. So ultimately I actually went to China for about 2 weeks to get a feel for the place, because it's obviously so very different from the UK. The girl who is taken to market by her uncle she becomes a domestic slave, but she escapes, and then she winds up working in a sweatshop, and of course sweatshops unfortunately are prevalent all over the world as well. So I followed her story, and the thing that keeps her going right the way through is the thought that someday she will get back home again to her mother and to her baby brother, even though right at the beginning of the book it's her baby brother that she blames for the fact that she's had to be sold in the first place. And the opening of the book is her journey to market, and she thinks she's just going there to with her uncle to buy vegetables or whatever, but actually he's taking her there to be sold. It's very difficult to write about subjects like this for children without giving them nightmares, I suppose. So it does have to be handled extremely carefully. I don't really know myself what the process is. I think it's just a natural emotional intelligence, I suppose, that I know what I'm able to say and what I'm not able to say. And I've tackled other difficult subjects like child soldiers. I think I just have a natural awareness of what I can write for the particular age group that this book and others like it are for. But I don't write them as I'm not preaching. I'm writing what I hope is a good story, and if other things come out of that, then all well and good. And I think it's great for children to be reading about lives that are very different from their own. I was thrilled when Spilled Water was published that it was sold into a lot of different countries. I think it had 10 different languages plus probably into about 15 different countries. And it also won the major children's book award at the time, which was the Nestlé Smarties Prize, and a couple of others as well. It was only my second attempt at fiction. Up until then I'd always written for the younger age groups, and I was still thinking that somebody at some point would say she should stick to what she knows. So it was a big boost to my confidence when it won the award. So I followed up with Broken Glass, which was triggered really by seeing images of children crawling over rubbish dumps in various different places in the world actually, but also a family living on a traffic island in India. And the two images sort of came together for me with Broken Glass, which is about street kids in India. And then after that I wrote Torn Pages, which is set in southern Africa, and that's about AIDS orphans and the daily struggle to survive for a family with a 13-year-old, a 9-year-old and a 5-year-old, but with a scheming grandmother. And then that was followed up by Bitter Chocolate, which is set in it's set in the Côte d'Ivoire, and it's about child slave labour on cocoa plantations. And about a young boy who winds up there after his village is overrun by rebels in Sierra Leone. All of the books do deal with very challenging issues, but what comes out of all of them, I think, is the resilience of children and their ability to deal with what life throws at them. And by the end of all of them, there has to be hope. I'm not good at having knights coming in on white chargers, because that doesn't happen in real life, and so the changes at the end may be fairly small, but they are changes for the better in one way or another.
ah.